Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you found your way here tonight. Whether you're settling into bed after a long day, curled up on the couch with a warm cup of tea, or simply looking for a moment of calm in our busy world, you've come to exactly the right place. Tonight, we're embarking on a gentle journey into one of the most extraordinary and hidden realms on our planet, a world so small, so invisible, that it exists right under our noses, on our skin, in our breath, and all around us, yet remains completely unseen. This is the story of microbial worlds, the vast universe of life that exists beyond the naked eye. It's a tale of creatures so tiny they make ants look like giants, yet so numerous and influential that they quite literally run our planet. And don't worry, I'll do my best to keep this soothing and not too riveting, though I must warn you, the microscopic world has a way of being rather fascinating. If you do find yourself still awake by the end, well, at least you'll have learned something wonderful about the invisible companions that share every moment of your existence. Before we begin our quiet exploration, I'd love it if you gave this video a gentle like it. Helps other sleepy souls discover this peaceful corner of science. And if you'd like to join me for more soft journeys through the wonders of our world, that subscribe button would mean the world to me. I'm always curious, where in the world are you listening from tonight? And what time is it in your corner of the universe? Drop a comment if you're feeling chatty. I love seeing how this little community of curious minds spans across time zones and continents. Now, take a deep breath, let your shoulders relax, and let's begin. Because tonight, we're going to discover that the smallest things in our world might just be the most remarkable of all. Picture this. You're sitting exactly where you are right now, comfortable and relaxed. But what if I told you that you're not alone? Not even close. In fact, you're surrounded by, covered in, and filled with trillions upon trillions of living creatures. They're on your hands as you hold your phone or rest your head on your pillow. They're floating in the air you're breathing, dancing in the water you drank today, and living quite comfortably in places you'd rather not think about too deeply. These aren't insects or spiders or anything you could see with the naked eye. These are microbes, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and countless other microscopic life forms that exist in a realm so small that it takes a powerful microscope just to catch a glimpse of their world. And yet, despite being invisible to us, they are perhaps the most successful, most diverse, and most essential forms of life our planet has ever known. To understand just how small we're talking, let's put this in perspective in the gentlest way possible. If a typical bacterium were the size of a marble, then you would be about the size of North America. That's the scale we're working with. These creatures are so incredibly tiny that millions of them could dance on the period at the end of this sentence, and you'd never know they were there. But here's what makes this even more remarkable. Despite their minuscule size, microbes are ancient beyond imagination. They were here billions of years before the first plant pushed through the soil, before the first fish swam in the sea, before dinosaurs walked the earth, and certainly before humans ever dreamed of looking through microscopes. In fact, for most of Earth's history, roughly 3.5 billion years, microbes were the only life on our planet. They had the place entirely to themselves, quietly going about their business of survival, reproduction, and evolution. And what a business it has been. While we larger creatures have been busy with our relatively recent appearances on Earth, microbes have been perfecting the art of living in every conceivable environment. They thrive in boiling hot springs that would cook you instantly, in frozen Antarctic ice where nothing else can survive, in the deepest ocean trenches where the pressure would crush a submarine, and in acid so strong it would dissolve metal. They've learned to eat everything from sunlight and sulfur to oil spills and nuclear waste. If there's an environment on Earth, no matter how extreme, there's probably a microbe that calls it home. This adaptability isn't just impressive, it's the foundation of life as we know it. You see, microbes didn't just survive in all these different environments, they transformed them. The oxygen you're breathing right now, That was created by ancient microbes called cyanobacteria, who spent millions of years converting sunlight and carbon dioxide into the breathable atmosphere we depend on. The soil that grows our food? Microbes helped create that too, breaking down rock and dead organic matter into the rich earth that supports all terrestrial life. In many ways, larger life forms like plants, animals, and yes, humans are really just recent additions to what has always been and continues to be a microbial planet. We like to think of ourselves as the dominant life forms, but the truth is far more humble and beautiful. We are walking, talking ecosystems, each of us carrying around our own personal communities of microbial life that are as essential to our existence as our hearts or lungs. Consider this gentle fact. There are roughly as many bacterial cells in your body as there are human cells. You are, quite literally, as much microbe as you are human. These tiny inhabitants live on your skin, in your mouth, throughout your digestive system, and in places you've probably never thought about. They help you digest your food, protect you from harmful invaders, produce vitamins your body needs, and even influence your mood and behavior in ways scientists are just beginning to understand. This isn't cause for alarm, it's cause for wonder. These microbial communities, called your microbiome, are so perfectly adapted to living with you that they've essentially become part of you. They've been with humans for so long that we've evolved together, creating one of the most beautiful partnerships in the natural world. Without them, you simply couldn't exist. And without you, they couldn't exist either. It's a relationship of mutual dependence and benefit that has been refined over millions of years. But the microbial world extends far beyond our own bodies. Step outside and you'll find that every handful of soil contains more microbes than there are people on Earth. A single teaspoon of seawater holds about 1 million bacteria and 10 million viruses. The air around you right now is filled with microscopic spores, bacteria, and other tiny life forms, all floating invisibly through space, some travelling vast distances on wind currents, others just settling gently onto every surface around you. This might sound overwhelming, but it's actually quite peaceful when you think about it. These microbes have been sharing space with every living thing for billions of years. They're not invaders or enemies, they're the original inhabitants, the elder species who have learned to live in harmony with the world they helped create. Most of them are either completely harmless to us or actively beneficial. The few that can cause illness are actually the exception, not the rule, in the vast microbial world. What's truly remarkable is how organized and sophisticated these microscopic communities can be. Take dental plaque, for instance, something we usually think of as just an unpleasant film on our teeth. In reality, dental plaque is a complex, highly organized microbial city called a biofilm. Different species of bacteria work together, creating structures, sharing resources, and communicating with each other through chemical signals. They build tiny towers and channels that allow nutrients to flow in and waste to flow out. It's urban planning on a scale so small we need powerful microscopes to see it, yet it's happening right in your mouth as you listen to this. Or consider the soil beneath a forest. What looks like simple dirt is actually one of the most complex ecosystems on Earth, teeming with bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and countless other microbes. These tiny organisms are constantly breaking down fallen leaves, dead wood, and other organic matter, recycling nutrients back into forms that plants can use. They form intricate networks that connect the roots of different plants, allowing trees to share resources and even communicate about threats like insect attacks. The forest above ground is just the visible part of a much larger, mostly microbial ecosystem below. And then there are the extremophiles, microbes, that live in conditions so harsh they seem to belong on another planet. In the scalding hot springs of Yellowstone National Park, bacteria thrive in water that reaches temperatures of over 200 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to brew tea instantly. In the deep ocean, microbes live around volcanic vents, where temperatures soar and toxic chemicals would kill any other form of life. Some bacteria can survive in concentrated acid, others in extremely salty water, and still others in the vacuum of space itself. These extremophiles aren't just scientific curiosities, they're expanding our understanding of what life can be and where it might exist. If microbes can thrive in Earth's most extreme environments, what does that tell us about the possibility of life on other planets? Mars, with its cold, dry, radiation-bathed surface, might seem lifeless to us, but it could be paradise for the right kind of extremophile bacteria. This brings us to one of the most beautiful aspects of the microbial world, its incredible diversity. Scientists estimate that there might be 1 trillion different species of microbes on Earth, though we've only identified and studied a tiny fraction of them. Each species has its own unique way of living, its own chemical processes, its own relationship with the environment and other organisms. Some use sunlight for energy, like tiny solar panels. Others consume methane, hydrogen sulfide, or even electricity. Some glow in the dark with their own biological light. Others produce the most exquisite colors and patterns when grown in laboratory cultures, creating art at a microscopic scale. The diversity isn't just in how they live, but in how they've shaped life itself. Many of the most fundamental processes that keep our planet habitable were invented by microbes billions of years ago. Photosynthesis, the process that plants use to convert sunlight into energy, was first developed by ancient bacteria. Fermentation, which we use to make bread, wine, and countless other foods, is a microbial invention. Even the process of sexual reproduction, which allows for the genetic diversity that drives evolution, may have originated in the microbial world. As you lie there tonight, surrounded by this invisible universe of microscopic life, there's something rather comforting about knowing you're part of such an ancient, successful, and diverse community. The microbes around you and within you are the descendants of the first life forms on Earth. They've survived every mass extinction, every climate change, every catastrophe our planet has experienced. They've seen the rise and fall of countless species, the formation and erosion of continents, the birth and death of stars in the night sky above. And through it all, they've continued their quiet work of living, growing, adapting, and maintaining the delicate chemical balances that make Earth a hospitable place for all life. They are, in a very real sense, the guardians of our planet, the invisible caretakers who keep the systems running that allow everything else to exist. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you might find it oddly soothing to know that you're never truly alone. You carry within you a microscopic world as complex and fascinating as any ecosystem on Earth. These tiny companions have been with your species for millions of years, and they'll be here long after we're gone, continuing their ancient work of keeping the world alive and balanced. In the gentle darkness of your room, in the quiet spaces between your breaths, in every drop of water and grain of dust, life continues at a scale so small it defies imagination, yet so vast in its impact that it literally makes our world possible. The microbial realm is not separate from our world. It is our world, seen from a different perspective, appreciated at a different scale, but no less real and no less wonderful for being invisible to our eyes. The invisible world around us operates on principles that would seem magical if we could see them with our own eyes. Imagine, for a moment, being able to shrink down to the size of a bacterium and wander through this microscopic landscape. What would you encounter in this alien yet familiar realm? First, you discover that the microbial world is anything but the empty, sterile space we might imagine. It's bustling with activity, communication, and constant movement. Bacteria don't simply float aimlessly through their environment, they navigate it with surprising sophistication. Many species have tiny whip-like tails called flagella that they use to swim through liquid environments, spinning like microscopic propellers to push themselves toward food sources or away from danger. Others glide smoothly along surfaces using mechanisms we're still trying to understand, like tiny biological hovercraft exploring the contours of their terrain. Even more fascinating is how these microscopic creatures communicate with each other. Yes, bacteria actually talk, though not in any way we would recognize as conversation. They use a process called quorum sensing, releasing chemical signals into their environment and detecting similar signals from their neighbors. It's like a constant chemical chatter, with each bacterium announcing its presence and listening to the voices of others around it. When enough bacteria gather in one place, something remarkable happens. They begin to coordinate their behavior, acting less like individual cells and more like a unified community. Some species will only produce certain enzymes or toxins when they sense that enough of their kind are present to make the effort worthwhile. Others use these chemical conversations to coordinate the formation of biofilms, those organized microbial cities we mentioned earlier. Picture a biofilm forming on a surface near you right now. It begins with a few pioneering bacteria settling down, like the first families arriving in a new territory. They anchor themselves to the surface and begin producing a sticky matrix of proteins and sugars, the foundation of their future city. As more bacteria arrive, they don't just pile on randomly. Different species occupy different neighborhoods within the biofilm, each contributing their own specialized services to the community. Some bacteria become the builders, producing more of the structural matrix that holds everything together. Others become the recyclers, breaking down waste products and dead cells. Still others take on the role of defenders, producing antibiotics or other compounds that keep harmful invaders at bay. There are even bacteria that seem to function like the electrical grid of this microscopic city, transferring electrons between different areas of the biofilm in ways that scientists are still working to understand. The architecture of these biofilms can be surprisingly sophisticated. Channels form throughout the structure, allowing nutrients to flow in and waste products to flow out, much like the water and sewer systems of a human city. Some channels even seem to be actively maintained and modified based on the needs of the community. When nutrients become scarce in one area, new channels might form to redirect resources from other parts of the biofilm. This level of organization exists in biofilms everywhere around you, on the surfaces of your teeth, in the pipes under your kitchen sink, on rocks in streams, and coating the hulls of ships in the ocean. Each one is a thriving metropolis of microscopic life, complete with its own infrastructure, neighborhoods, and economy. But the microbial world isn't just about bacteria. Let's take a gentle journey into the realm of viruses, those mysterious entities that exist at the very edge of what we consider life. Viruses are even smaller than bacteria, so tiny that you could fit thousands of them inside a single bacterial cell. They're essentially packets of genetic information wrapped in a protein shell, unable to reproduce on their own but capable of hijacking other cells to do their bidding. Now, before you start feeling uneasy, remember that the vast majority of viruses have nothing to do with human disease. Most viruses infect bacteria, and they play a crucial role in maintaining the balance of microbial ecosystems. They act like tiny population controllers, preventing any single species of bacteria from becoming too dominant. When a particular type of bacteria becomes very abundant, the viruses that specialize in infecting that species also multiply rapidly, bringing the bacterial population back into balance. In the oceans, viruses are incredibly abundant. There can be 10 billion of them in a single liter of seawater. They're constantly infecting marine bacteria, causing them to burst open and release their contents into the water. This might sound destructive, but it's actually one of the most important recycling processes on our planet. The nutrients released when bacterial cells are destroyed by viruses become available to other microbes and, ultimately, to the entire ocean food web. This viral recycling process happens in the water you drink, the soil in your garden, and even in the air around you. It's a quiet, constant turnover of microbial life that has been going on for billions of years, long before larger organisms like plants and animals appeared on the scene. In a very real sense, viruses help maintain the microscopic foundation upon which all other life depends. Then there are the fungi organisms that occupy a fascinating middle ground between the plant and animal kingdoms, though they're actually neither. Fungi include everything from the mushrooms you might find in your grocery store to the yeasts that make your bread rise, but the majority of fungal life exists as microscopic threads called hyphae that weave through soil, wood, and other organic matter. These fungal networks are among the most extensive living structures on Earth. In forests, fungal hyphae connect the roots of different trees and plants, creating what scientists poetically call the wood wide web, a communication and resource-sharing network that spans entire ecosystems. Through these fungal connections, a large tree can share nutrients with smaller plants growing in its shade, and plants under attack by insects can send chemical warning signals to their neighbours. Some fungi form partnerships with plant roots called mycorrhizae, relationships so ancient and important that most plants simply can't survive without them. The fungus helps the plant absorb water and nutrients from the soil, particularly phosphorus and nitrogen, while the plant provides the fungus with sugars produced through photosynthesis. It's a trade agreement that has been refined over hundreds of millions of years, and it's happening in the soil beneath virtually every plant you see. In your own home, microscopic fungi are quietly at work in places you might not expect. The sourdough starter in your kitchen, if you happen to have one, is a thriving community of wild yeasts and bacteria that have been cultivated by humans for thousands of years. These microbes work together to create the distinctive flavor and texture of sourdough bread, and each starter is unique, carrying its own particular blend of microbial species that reflects the local environment where it originated. Even the dust that settles on your furniture contains a diverse community of microbes, including fungal spores that have traveled from who knows where. These spores are incredibly patient, capable of surviving for months or even years in a dormant state until conditions become favorable for growth. They're like seeds in a microbial garden, waiting for the right combination of moisture, temperature, and nutrients to spring to life. The air itself is a highway for microbial travelers. Every breath you take carries thousands of microscopic organisms, bacteria, fungal spores, and other tiny life forms that have been lifted from surfaces around the world and carried on wind currents. Some of these aerial microbes have traveled thousands of miles, crossing oceans and continents on their journey. They've been found in the upper atmosphere, in clouds, and even in the stratosphere, suggesting that the microbial world extends far beyond the surface of our planet. This atmospheric transport system is how microbes colonize new environments. When a new volcanic island emerges from the ocean, it's initially sterile, but it doesn't stay that way for long. Within days or weeks, microbes begin arriving on wind currents, settling on the barren rock, and beginning the slow process of creating soil and making the island habitable for other forms of life. The same process happens on a much smaller scale in your own environment. That clean surface you just wiped down, it's already being colonized by airborne microbes that are settling out of the air around you. This isn't a cause for concern, it's simply the natural order of things. In the microbial world, there's no such thing as empty space. Every niche, no matter how small or seemingly inhospitable, becomes home to some form of microscopic life. As you settle deeper into relaxation tonight, consider the remarkable fact that you're witnessing, though you can't see it, one of the most ancient and successful experiments in living that our planet has ever produced. The microbial world represents nearly 4 billion years of evolutionary innovation, adaptation, and cooperation. These tiny organisms have solved problems that still challenge our most advanced technologies. They've learned to harness energy from sources we're only beginning to understand, to communicate across distances using chemical signals more sophisticated than many of our electronic networks, and to build structures that are both incredibly strong and remarkably efficient. They've mastered the art of cooperation, forming partnerships and communities that benefit all participants, while also maintaining the genetic diversity that allows them to adapt to changing conditions. Most remarkably of all, they've learned to live in harmony with their environment, rather than simply exploiting it. Microbial communities tend to reach stable equilibriums where different species coexist and support each other, creating systems that can persist for thousands or even millions of years. They take only what they need and recycle everything they use, creating closed-loop systems that waste nothing and sustain themselves indefinitely. In many ways, the microbial world offers us a glimpse of what sustainable living actually looks like. These tiny organisms have been practicing principles of conservation, cooperation, and renewable energy use since long before these concepts had names. They've created a global ecosystem that has remained stable and productive for billions of years, supporting an incredible diversity of life while maintaining the chemical balances that keep our planet habitable. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, you're cradled not just by your blankets and pillows, but by this vast invisible web of microbial life that surrounds and sustains all larger organisms. These microscopic guardians continue their ancient work in the darkness, processing nutrients, cycling elements, and maintaining the delicate equilibriums that make life possible. There's something deeply peaceful about knowing that you're part of this ancient story, connected to every other living thing through the shared heritage of microbial life. The bacteria in your gut are distant cousins of those that live in deep-sea vents and frozen Antarctic lakes. The fungi that help your garden grow are related to those that decompose fallen leaves in forests around the world. The air you breathe carries microbes that connect you to every ecosystem on Earth. In the quiet moments before sleep takes hold, you might sense the subtle rhythm of this microscopic world, the constant, gentle pulse of life at its most fundamental level. It's a rhythm that has been beating steadily for billions of years, and it will continue long after you wake tomorrow morning, carrying on the essential work of keeping our world alive and balanced. The microbial realm asks nothing from us but offers everything in return: the air we breathe, the soil that feeds us, the very possibility of our existence. It operates according to principles of cooperation, sustainability, and resilience that we're still learning to understand and appreciate. And it does all of this so quietly, so invisibly, that most of us go through our entire lives without ever truly noticing the microscopic foundation upon which all life depends. But now you know. Now you're aware of the invisible universe that surrounds you, supports you, and in many ways is you. And perhaps that awareness will bring a new sense of wonder to the ordinary moments of your day, knowing that every surface you touch, every breath you take, every step you make through the world brings you into contact with ancient forms of life that have been perfecting the art of living for longer than we can truly comprehend. The story of how we first discovered this hidden universe is itself a tale worth telling as you settle into the gentle embrace of sleep. For most of human history, we lived alongside these microscopic companions without the slightest awareness of their existence. We saw the effects of their work: bread rising, wine fermenting, wounds healing or festering, plagues spreading, but the tiny architects behind these phenomena remained completely invisible to us. It wasn't until the late 1602 that a Dutch cloth merchant named Antony van Leeuwenhoek became the first human being to peer into this secret world. Using handmade lenses that he ground himself, lenses so powerful they could magnify objects nearly 300 times, he began examining drops of pond water, scrapings from his own teeth, and samples from every corner of his daily life. What he discovered changed our understanding of existence itself. In his meticulous notes, written in Old Dutch, Leeuwenhoek described seeing very many little animalcules, whereof some were roundish, while others a bit bigger consisted of an oval. He watched these tiny creatures swimming about, seemingly with purpose and intelligence, and realized he was witnessing forms of life that no human had ever seen before. His excitement practically leaps off the centuries-old pages as he describes creatures 1,000 times smaller than the eye of a louse moving about in what appeared to be their own miniature world. Imagine the wonder of that moment being the first person in human history to discover that life existed on scales previously unimaginable. It would be like finding out that your morning coffee cup contained entire civilizations, complete with their own cities, highways, and communities. Leeuwenhoek spent years peering through his tiny lenses, documenting this invisible realm with the dedication of an explorer mapping uncharted territories. His discoveries were met with skepticism, as revolutionary discoveries often are. The scientific community of his time found it difficult to believe that such tiny life could exist. But gradually, as others built better microscopes and confirmed his observations, the reality of the microbial world became undeniable. We had discovered that we were sharing our planet with countless forms of life that had been there all along, invisible neighbours going about their business just beyond the reach of our senses. As microscopy improved over the following centuries, each new lens revealed deeper layers of complexity in this microscopic universe. Scientists discovered that what they had initially thought were simple, primitive creatures were actually sophisticated organisms with their own intricate internal structures, complex behaviours, and remarkable abilities. The more they looked, the more they realized that the microbial world wasn't just teeming with life, it was teeming with different kinds of life, each adapted to its own particular niche and way of existing. By the 1802nd, researchers were beginning to understand that these invisible organisms weren't just curiosities to be observed and catalogued. They were active participants in the world around us, responsible for processes that affected everything from human health to the cycles that kept ecosystems functioning. The realization dawned slowly that we weren't just observers of the microbial world, we were part of it. This shift in understanding coincided with the development of new techniques for studying microbes. Scientists learned to grow them in controlled laboratory conditions, feeding them specific nutrients and observing how they responded to different environments. They discovered that each species had its own preferences. Some thrived in warmth, others in cold. Some needed oxygen, others found it toxic. Some consumed sugars, others preferred more exotic chemical compounds. These laboratory cultures revealed behaviors that seemed almost impossibly sophisticated for such simple organisms. Researchers watched bacterial colonies organize themselves into complex patterns, responding to chemical signals and environmental cues with a coordination that suggested some form of primitive intelligence. They observed microbes solving problems, finding food sources, avoiding threats, and even sacrificing themselves for the benefit of their communities. The more scientists learned about microbial behavior, the more they realized that these tiny organisms had developed solutions to survival challenges that were elegant in their simplicity, yet incredibly effective. Take, for example, the way certain bacteria can sense the chemical gradients in their environment and swim directly towards sources of food, even when those sources are far away. It's like having a built-in GPS system that can detect the faintest traces of nutrients and navigate toward them through three-dimensional space. Or consider how some microbes have learned to enter a state of suspended animation when conditions become unfavorable. They essentially shut down all non-essential functions, protecting their genetic material inside nearly indestructible shells called endospores, and wait sometimes for decades or even centuries until conditions improve enough to resume active life. Scientists have successfully revived bacterial spores from samples that were thousands of years old, bringing ancient microbes back to life in modern laboratories. This ability to pause life itself and resume it later is something that larger organisms can only dream of achieving. Yet for many microbes, it's simply another tool in their survival toolkit, developed through millions of years of evolution and refined to near perfection. These endospores can survive temperatures that would sterilize surgical instruments, radiation levels that would be lethal to any other form of life, and chemical conditions that would dissolve metal. The discovery of extremophile microbes, those organisms that thrive in conditions we consider impossibly harsh, expanded our understanding of what life could be. and where it might exist. In the scorching hot springs of Yellowstone, researchers found bacteria living comfortably in water hot enough to cook an egg. In the frozen lakes of Antarctica, they discovered microbes that had adapted to life in permanent ice, using antifreeze proteins to prevent their cellular machinery from being damaged by crystallization. Deep in underground caves, scientists found entire ecosystems of microbes that had never seen sunlight, deriving their energy instead from chemical reactions involving sulfur, iron, and other elements. These discoveries revealed that life didn't need the sun to survive. It could find energy in the most unlikely places, turning poisonous chemicals into food and thriving in environments that would quickly kill any surface-dwelling organism. Perhaps most remarkably, researchers began finding microbes in places where they never expected life to exist at all. Miles beneath the Earth's surface, in solid rock, they discovered bacterial communities that had been isolated from the surface world for millions of years. These deep-dwelling microbes live incredibly slowly, taking centuries to complete processes that surface bacteria accomplish in hours, but they demonstrate that life can persist in almost any environment where liquid water exists, no matter how extreme the conditions. The ocean depths revealed their own microbial marvels. Around hydrothermal vents on the seafloor, where superheated water rich in toxic chemicals erupts from cracks in the Earth's crust, researchers found thriving communities of bacteria that form the foundation of entire ecosystems. These microbes had learned to harness the chemical energy of the vents, converting hydrogen sulfide and other compounds into food, in a process completely independent of photosynthesis. What made these discoveries even more extraordinary was the realization that these deep-sea microbial communities might represent some of the oldest forms of life on Earth. The conditions around hydrothermal vents are similar to those that existed on our planet billions of years ago, suggesting that life might have first emerged in these extreme environments before gradually adapting to the milder conditions we're familiar with today. This research also opened up tantalizing possibilities about life beyond Earth. If microbes could thrive in such extreme conditions here, what did that suggest about the potential for life on other worlds? Mars, with its cold, radiation-bathed surface, might seem hostile to life as we know it, but it could be perfectly suitable for the right kind of extremophile bacteria. The ice-covered moons of Jupiter and Saturn, with their subsurface oceans, suddenly became potential habitats for microbial communities similar to those found in Earth's deep ocean. The search for life beyond Earth has, in many ways, become a search for microbial life. Scientists now understand that if we do find life elsewhere in the universe, it's most likely to be microscopic, at least initially. The sophisticated instruments we send to other planets are designed primarily to detect the chemical signatures of microbial metabolism, the subtle changes in atmospheric composition or soil chemistry that might indicate the presence of living organisms too small to see but active enough to leave traces of their existence. Meanwhile, here on Earth, researchers continued to uncover new aspects of microbial life that challenged our assumptions about how organisms interact with each other and their environment. They discovered that bacteria could transfer genetic material between species, sharing useful traits like antibiotic resistance or the ability to digest new types of food. This horizontal gene transfer, as it's called, means that microbial evolution operates differently from the evolution of larger organisms, with innovations spreading rapidly through populations and even jumping between distantly related species. This genetic flexibility helps explain how microbes have been able to adapt so quickly to new environments and challenges. When humans began producing antibiotics in large quantities, some bacteria rapidly developed resistance by acquiring genes from other microbes that had evolved these defenses. When industrial pollution introduced new chemicals into the environment, microbial communities often developed the ability to break down these compounds within just a few generations. The study of these microbial adaptations has led to some of the most promising developments in environmental cleanup technologies. Researchers have identified bacteria that can break down oil spills, digest plastic waste, extract valuable metals from electronic waste, and neutralize toxic compounds in contaminated soil. These biological solutions to environmental problems are often more effective and environmentally friendly than traditional chemical or physical cleanup methods. In agriculture, scientists have discovered that the health of crop plants is intimately connected to the microbial communities in the soil around their roots. Healthy soil contains a diverse ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and other microbes that work together to cycle nutrients, protect plants from diseases, and even help them communicate with each other through chemical signals. Modern agricultural practices that rely heavily on chemical fertilizers and pesticides can disrupt these microbial communities, leading to soil degradation and reduced crop yields over time. Understanding these relationships has led to the development of more sustainable farming practices that work with microbial communities rather than against them. Farmers are learning to nurture soil microbes through techniques like cover cropping, reduced tillage, and the application of beneficial microbes to enhance plant growth and resistance to pests and diseases. The medical applications of microbial research have been equally revolutionary. The discovery that many human diseases are caused by pathogenic microbes led to the development of antibiotics, vaccines, and other treatments that have saved countless lives. But researchers have also learned that not all microbes are harmful. In fact, most of the microbes associated with human health are beneficial or neutral. The human microbiome, as we've touched on earlier, consists of trillions of microbial cells that live on and in our bodies. These microbial communities play crucial roles in digestion, immune function, and even mental health. Disruption of the microbiome through factors like antibiotic use, poor diet, or stress can lead to a variety of health problems, while maintaining a diverse and balanced microbiome is associated with better overall health and resistance to disease. This understanding has led to the development of probiotics, beneficial microbes that can be taken as supplements or consumed in fermented foods to support microbiome health. Researchers are also exploring more sophisticated approaches, like fecal microbiota transplantation, where the entire microbial community from a healthy donor is transferred to a patient whose microbiome has been severely disrupted. As you lie there tonight, perhaps feeling the subtle workings of your own digestive system or the gentle rise and fall of your breathing, you're experiencing the collaborative effort of your human cells working in harmony with trillions of microbial partners. These tiny allies are processing the food you ate today, producing vitamins your body needs, training your immune system to recognize threats, and maintaining the delicate chemical balances that keep you healthy. The boundaries between you and them become increasingly blurred the more we learn about these relationships. Your microbial communities are as unique as your fingerprints, shaped by your genetics, your environment, your diet, and your life experiences. They change throughout your lifetime, adapting to new circumstances and challenges, aging along with you, but also maintaining their own distinct rhythms and cycles. In many ways, you are not just a human being, but a walking ecosystem, a collaborative community of different forms of life working together toward common goals of survival, growth, and reproduction. This perspective doesn't diminish your individual identity, it enriches it, connecting you to the vast web of life that encompasses our entire planet. The research continues, with new discoveries emerging regularly that further illuminate the complexity and importance of the microbial world. Scientists are using DNA sequencing technologies to identify microbes that cannot be grown in laboratory cultures, revealing that the true diversity of microbial life is far greater than we ever imagined. They're discovering new metabolic pathways, new forms of communication between microbes, and new ways that these tiny organisms influence the larger world around them. Each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle of understanding how life works at its most fundamental level. And with each piece, we gain a deeper appreciation for the elegant complexity of the invisible world that surrounds us, supports us, and in many ways defines what it means to be alive on this remarkable planet we call home. As your thoughts begin to quiet and your body settles into the restful rhythms of approaching sleep, take comfort in knowing that you are part of this ancient, ongoing story of life, adapting, thriving, and persisting through countless challenges and changes. The microbial world that was here long before you will continue long after you're gone. But for now, in this moment, you are intimately connected to it, sharing in its quiet wisdom and enduring resilience. The story of our partnership with the microbial world becomes even more intimate when we consider how these ancient relationships have shaped not just our bodies, but our very evolution as a species. Long before humans learned to cultivate crops or domesticate animals, we had already entered into one of the most successful partnerships in the history of life on Earth, our alliance with the trillions of microbes that call our bodies home. This partnership began millions of years ago, when our earliest ancestors first developed the complex digestive systems that would allow them to extract energy from a wide variety of foods. The human gut, with its warm, nutrient-rich environment, became an ideal habitat for certain types of bacteria. In return, these bacterial residents helped break down complex plant materials that our own enzymes couldn't handle, essentially expanding our dietary options and giving us access to nutrients that would otherwise remain locked away. Over countless generations, this relationship deepened and became more sophisticated. The microbes evolved to become better partners, developing new capabilities that benefited their human hosts. Meanwhile, our own biology adapted to support and maintain these microbial communities, creating specialized environments within our bodies where different types of beneficial bacteria could thrive. Consider your digestive system as you rest there tonight. It's not simply a series of tubes and chambers for processing food. It's a carefully designed habitat for an incredibly diverse ecosystem of microscopic life. The acidity of your stomach creates conditions that favor certain types of bacteria, while discouraging others. The alkaline environment of your small intestine supports different communities, each specialized for particular aspects of digestion and nutrient absorption. Your large intestine hosts perhaps the most diverse microbial community in your body, with hundreds of different species working together in a complex web of interactions. Some specialize in breaking down the fibrous plant materials that make it through your small intestine largely unchanged. Others focus on producing essential vitamins like B12 and vitamin K, which your body cannot manufacture on its own. Still, others work as your internal pharmacists, producing compounds that influence everything from your immune response to your mood. This isn't a one-way relationship where you simply provide housing for these microbial tenants. Your body actively manages these communities, producing substances that encourage the growth of beneficial species while suppressing potentially harmful ones. Your immune system has learned to recognize and protect your microbial partners while still maintaining its ability to fight off genuine threats. The sophistication of this relationship becomes even more apparent when you consider how it develops throughout your lifetime. When you were born, you emerged from the sterile environment of your mother's womb, essentially microbe-free. But within hours, you began acquiring the microbial communities that would become your lifelong partners. The first microbes came from your mother during birth, followed by others from skin contact, feeding, and simply being in the world. These early colonizers didn't settle randomly throughout your body. Instead, they followed predictable patterns, with different species establishing themselves in the environments best suited to their particular needs. Your skin developed communities adapted to its relatively dry, slightly acidic conditions. Your mouth became home to species that could thrive in the presence of saliva and the constant flow of food particles. Your digestive system gradually developed the complex layered communities that would support you throughout your life. As you grew and your diet changed, your microbial communities adapted alongside you. The shift from breast milk to solid foods triggered changes in your gut microbiome, with new species arriving to help process more complex nutrients, while others diminished in importance. Throughout childhood and into adulthood, your microbial communities continued to evolve in response to your diet, environment, health status, and even your emotional state. This dynamic relationship means that your microbiome today is quite different from what it was when you were younger, and it will continue to change as you age. Certain species that are abundant in young, healthy individuals tend to decline with age, while others may become more prominent. These changes can influence everything from your digestion and immune function to your energy levels and cognitive performance. But the influence of your microbial partners extends far beyond the obvious realm of digestion. Research over the past few decades has revealed connections between the microbiome and virtually every aspect of human health and physiology. The bacteria in your gut produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, the same chemicals that regulate mood and emotion in your brain. They influence the production of hormones that control appetite, sleep cycles, and stress responses. Some of the most fascinating research has focused on what scientists call the gut-brain axis, the complex communication network that connects your digestive system to your central nervous system. Your gut bacteria can send signals to your brain through multiple pathways, through the nervous system itself, through the immune system, and through the bloodstream carrying bacterial metabolites that can cross the blood-brain barrier. This means that the microbial communities in your digestive system are literally influencing your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Studies have found correlations between certain patterns of gut bacteria and conditions like depression, anxiety, autism, and even neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. While we're still learning exactly how these connections work, it's clear that the phrase gut feeling may be more scientifically accurate than we ever realized. The implications of this research extend into almost every aspect of modern life. The foods you choose to eat don't just provide nutrition for your own cells, they also feed your microbial communities, influencing which species thrive and which decline. A diet rich in diverse plant foods tends to support a more diverse microbiome, while highly processed foods with limited variety can lead to less diverse microbial communities. The medications you take, particularly antibiotics, can have profound effects on your microbiome. While antibiotics can be life-saving when used to treat serious bacterial infections, they don't discriminate between harmful pathogens and beneficial residents. A course of antibiotics can significantly disrupt your microbial communities, sometimes with effects that last for months or even years. Even your sleep patterns, stress levels, and exercise habits influence your microbial partners. Chronic stress can alter the composition of gut bacteria in ways that may contribute to inflammation and disease. Regular exercise, on the other hand, tends to promote a healthier, more diverse microbiome. The quality and duration of your sleep affect the daily rhythms of your microbial communities, which have their own circadian cycles that parallel your own. As you settle into the quiet rhythms of evening, your microbial communities are settling into their own nightly routines. The bacteria in your gut follow daily patterns of activity and rest that are synchronized with your eating and sleeping schedules. Some species become more active at night, working to process the day's meals and produce important metabolites while you sleep. Others reduce their activity during your fasting periods, conserving energy and resources until the next meal arrives. This synchronization between your biological rhythms and those of your microbial partners represents millions of years of coevolution, a gradual fine-tuning of two very different forms of life, learning to work together for mutual benefit. It's a partnership so intimate and essential that it's difficult to say where you end and your microbial communities begin. The same intimate partnerships that exist within your body are playing out on a much larger scale in the world around you. Every plant in your garden hosts its own unique community of microbes, both on its surfaces and within its tissues. These plant-associated microbes help protect against diseases, improve nutrient uptake, and even influence the plant's ability to withstand environmental stresses like drought or temperature extremes. The soil beneath those plants is perhaps the most microbially rich environment on Earth, with a single teaspoon containing more microbes than there are people on our planet. These soil microbes form the foundation of terrestrial ecosystems, breaking down organic matter, cycling nutrients, and creating the chemical conditions that allow plants to thrive. Without them, the continents would be barren rock, unable to support the complex webs of life that characterize terrestrial environments. In the oceans, microscopic phytoplankton, tiny photosynthetic organisms that drift near the surface, produce roughly half of the oxygen in our atmosphere while forming the base of marine food webs. These microscopic organisms are so small that millions of them could fit in a single drop of seawater, yet collectively they process vast quantities of carbon dioxide and solar energy, influencing global climate patterns and supporting the entire ocean ecosystem. Even the clouds above you contain active microbial communities. Bacteria and other microorganisms in the atmosphere can influence cloud formation and precipitation patterns, essentially participating in the planet's weather systems. Some of these atmospheric microbes can survive the harsh conditions of the upper atmosphere, including intense ultraviolet radiation and extreme temperature fluctuations, while others may be transported vast distances before settling in new environments thousands of miles from their origins. This global circulation of microbes means that the microbial communities in your local environment are connected to those in distant parts of the world. Dust storms can carry bacteria across continents and oceans, while ocean currents transport marine microbes around the globe. The air you breathe contains microbes that may have originated in distant forests, deserts, or ocean surfaces, linking you to ecosystems you may never visit, but to which you are nonetheless connected through the invisible networks of microbial life. The realization of these connections has profound implications for how we understand health, disease, and environmental stewardship. The microbes that cause infectious diseases don't respect national boundaries or geographic barriers. They travel with their hosts, spread through global transportation networks, and adapt to new environments with remarkable speed. Understanding and tracking these microbial movements has become crucial for public health efforts and disease prevention. At the same time, the beneficial microbes that support ecosystem health and human wellness are also affected by human activities. Pollution, habitat destruction, and climate change can all disrupt microbial communities in ways that cascade through entire ecosystems. The overuse of antibiotics in medicine and agriculture has contributed to the evolution of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, while industrial chemicals can persist in the environment and affect microbial communities for decades. But there's also tremendous hope in our growing understanding of the microbial world. Scientists are developing new approaches to environmental restoration that work with microbial communities rather than against them. Bioremediation techniques use naturally occurring or genetically modified microbes to clean up pollution, from oil spills to contaminated groundwater. Agricultural practices that support soil microbes can improve crop yields while reducing the need for chemical fertilizers and pesticides. In medicine, researchers are exploring how we might use our understanding of the microbiome to prevent and treat diseases. Personalized medicine may soon include analysis of individual microbiomes to guide treatment decisions. Probiotics and prebiotics foods and supplements that support beneficial microbes are becoming more sophisticated and targeted. Some researchers are even investigating the possibility of designing custom microbial communities to address specific health conditions. The field of synthetic biology is beginning to engineer microbes with new capabilities, creating biological systems that could produce medicines, fuels, or other valuable compounds. While this technology raises important ethical and safety questions, it also offers the potential to harness the remarkable versatility of microbial life for human benefit while working within natural systems rather than against them. As you lie there in the gentle darkness, surrounded by this invisible universe of microscopic life, you might find it comforting to know that you are part of something so much larger than yourself. The microbes within you and around you represent an unbroken chain of life that stretches back billions of years to the very origins of life on Earth. They carry within their tiny cells the accumulated wisdom of countless generations of adaptation, survival, and cooperation. These microscopic partners ask nothing more from you than the conditions they need to thrive, and in return they offer you the gift of life itself, the oxygen you breathe, the food you digest, the protection from disease, even the neurochemicals that allow you to experience joy, contentment, and the peaceful drift towards sleep. They work tirelessly, without recognition or reward, maintaining the delicate balances that make your existence possible. In the quiet moments before sleep takes hold, you might sense the subtle presence of this ancient partnership, the gentle churning of digestion, the steady rhythm of cellular metabolism, the quiet chemical conversations taking place in environments too small to imagine, but too important to ignore. These are the sounds and sensations of life at its most fundamental level, the soft whisper of biological processes that have been refined over eons of evolution. Tonight, as you surrender to sleep, you do so in the company of trillions of microscopic allies who will continue their essential work through the dark hours. They will process the nutrients from your evening meal, repair and maintain the tissues of your body, and prepare you for another day of living in the remarkable partnership between the seen and unseen worlds that makes all life on Earth possible. The microbial realm operates on timescales that can seem almost impossibly patient to us hurried humans. While we measure our lives in years and decades, many microbial processes unfold over geological time, millions or even billions of years of gradual change and adaptation. Yet other microbial activities happen at breathtaking speed, with some bacteria capable of doubling their population every 20 minutes under optimal conditions. This vast range of temporal scales reflects the incredible diversity of strategies that microbes have evolved for dealing with the challenges of existence. Some species are specialists, perfectly adapted to very specific conditions but vulnerable if those conditions change. Others are generalists, capable of surviving in a wide range of environments, but perhaps not thriving as well as the specialists in any particular niche. Consider the microbes that live in the deep ocean, where conditions have remained relatively stable for millions of years. These organisms have evolved to live in permanent darkness, under crushing pressure, in water that is near freezing or scalding hot. They have developed metabolic pathways that seem almost alien to us surface dwellers, deriving energy from chemical reactions involving sulfur, methane, or even hydrogen gas. Some of these deep-sea microbes live so slowly that their individual cells may be hundreds or even thousands of years old. They divide rarely, metabolize slowly, and exist in a kind of biological slow motion that allows them to persist in environments where food is scarce and energy must be conserved. Yet they are perfectly adapted to their world, forming the foundation of unique ecosystems that exist in complete independence from the sun-powered biosphere we're familiar with. At the other extreme are the microbes that live in rapidly changing environments, where conditions can shift dramatically from moment to moment. These organisms have evolved to be incredibly responsive and adaptable, capable of switching between different metabolic modes as conditions change. They can rapidly alter their gene expression, modify their cellular structures, and even exchange genetic material with other microbes to acquire new capabilities. In your own body, both strategies are at work. Some of your microbial residents are stable, long-term partners that establish themselves early in life and remain relatively constant throughout your lifetime. Others fluctuate with your diet, health status, and environmental exposures, adjusting their populations and activities in response to changing conditions. This dynamic balance between stability and change is one of the key features that makes microbial communities so resilient. When disturbances occur, whether from illness, medication, stress, or environmental changes, the flexible members of the community can adapt quickly, while the stable core provides continuity and helps guide the recovery process. The same principles apply to microbial communities in natural environments. Forest soils, for example, contain both resident microbes that have been associated with that ecosystem for thousands of years, and more transient species that come and go with seasonal changes or environmental fluctuations. This combination of stability and flexibility allows the soil ecosystem to maintain its essential functions while adapting to changing conditions over time. Climate change is providing a real-time experiment in how microbial communities respond to environmental shifts. As temperatures rise, precipitation patterns change, and atmospheric chemistry is altered, microbes around the world are facing new challenges. Some species are expanding their ranges into previously unsuitable habitats, while others are being pushed toward extinction as their preferred environments disappear. The microbes in Arctic permafrost, for instance, have been frozen in place for thousands of years, their metabolic processes essentially paused by the extreme cold. But as permafrost begins to thaw due to warming temperatures, these ancient microbes are becoming active again, beginning to decompose the organic matter that has been preserved in the frozen soil. This process releases carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere, contributing to further warming in a feedback loop that scientists are working to understand and predict. Ocean microbes are facing their own set of challenges, as seawater becomes warmer and more acidic due to increased atmospheric carbon dioxide. The microscopic organisms that form the base of marine food webs are having to adapt to changing chemical conditions, and these adaptations are rippling through entire ocean ecosystems. Some species are thriving in the new conditions while others are struggling to survive. Yet the history of life on Earth suggests that microbial communities are remarkably resilient and adaptable. They have survived multiple mass extinction events, dramatic climate changes, and the gradual transformation of Earth's atmosphere from one that was toxic to most current life forms to the oxygen-rich environment we know today. In fact, many of these planetary changes were driven by the activities of microbes themselves. The Great Oxidation Event, which occurred about 2.4 billion years ago, was caused by the evolution of photosynthetic bacteria that began producing oxygen as a waste product. This fundamentally changed Earth's atmosphere and oceans, creating conditions that were toxic to many existing organisms but paving the way for the evolution of oxygen-breathing life forms, including eventually us. This event illustrates one of the most remarkable features of microbial life, their ability to not just adapt to their environment, but to actively transform it. The microbes living in your gut don't just passively respond to the conditions in your digestive system, they actively modify those conditions through their metabolic activities, creating chemical environments that favor their own survival while benefiting you as their host. The same process occurs in every environment where microbes exist. Soil bacteria alter the chemical composition of the soil around them, making certain nutrients more available to plants while sequestering others. Ocean microbes influence the chemistry of seawater, affecting everything from pH to nutrient concentrations. Even the microbes living on rock surfaces gradually break down the minerals, contributing to the formation of soil and the weathering processes that shape landscapes over geological time. This ability to modify environments gives microbial communities a kind of agency in shaping the world around them. They are not just passive recipients of environmental change, they are active participants in creating the conditions that will determine their own future survival and evolution. As you rest there tonight, breathing the oxygen produced by ancient photosynthetic bacteria, your body temperature regulated by metabolic processes refined over billions of years of evolution, you are experiencing the end result of countless microbial innovations. The comfortable conditions that allow you to exist are maintained by ongoing microbial activities happening at scales from the molecular to the planetary. The carbon dioxide you exhale will be absorbed by photosynthetic microbes in the ocean and on land, converted back into organic compounds that will feed other organisms in an endless cycle of transformation and renewal. The nutrients from your last meal are being processed by gut bacteria into forms your body can use, while waste products are being broken down and prepared for recycling by other microbial communities. Even the thoughts and emotions you experience as you drift towards sleep may be influenced by the chemical signals produced by your microbial partners. The boundary between your consciousness and the activities of your microscopic residents becomes increasingly blurred as we learn more about the complex interactions between the human brain and the microbial communities that inhabit our bodies. In many traditional cultures, there is a recognition that humans are not separate from nature, but deeply embedded within it. The scientific study of the microbial world has revealed just how literally true this is. We are not independent organisms borrowing space on a microbial planet. We are integrated components of microbial ecosystems, our lives intimately intertwined with those of our microscopic partners in ways that are essential for our survival and well-being. This perspective invites a kind of humility and wonder that can be deeply peaceful. Instead of seeing ourselves as isolated individuals struggling against an indifferent universe, we can understand ourselves as part of an ancient, collaborative web of life that has been developing and refining itself for billions of years. We are supported, sustained, and surrounded by forms of life that have perfected the art of cooperation, resilience, and adaptation. As sleep begins to claim your conscious mind, your microbial communities will continue their quiet work, maintaining the biological processes that sustain your life, processing the experiences of the day, and preparing your body for renewal and restoration. They ask nothing in return, but the opportunity to continue this ancient partnership, this collaboration between the visible and invisible worlds that makes all life on Earth possible. In the gentle darkness, surrounded by the soft presence of countless microscopic allies, you can rest in the knowledge that you are never truly alone, never disconnected from the living world around you. You are part of the great community of life that includes every creature, from the largest whale to the smallest bacterium, all of us sharing this remarkable planet, all of us participants in the ongoing story of life's creativity, resilience, and endless capacity for wonder. The interconnectedness of microbial life extends even into the realm of communication and social behavior, revealing that these tiny organisms engage in forms of cooperation and coordination that rival the most sophisticated human societies. As you settle deeper into relaxation tonight, consider the remarkable fact that the microscopic world operates its own complex networks of information sharing, resource distribution, and collective decision-making. Bacterial communication, known as quorum sensing, operates through the release and detection of chemical signals called autoinducers. These molecular messengers allow bacteria to assess population density and coordinate group behaviors. When bacterial numbers reach a critical threshold, they can synchronize activities like biofilm formation, toxin production, or the emission of bioluminescence. It's as if these microscopic communities have developed their own forms of democracy, where individual cells vote through chemical signals and act collectively based on the majority response. The sophistication of these microbial conversations becomes even more apparent when we consider that different species can eavesdrop on each other's chemical communications. Some bacteria have evolved the ability to detect and interpret the signaling molecules produced by other species, allowing them to coordinate activities across species boundaries. Others have learned to jam these communications, producing molecules that interfere with their competitors' ability to organize collective behaviors. In your mouth right now, hundreds of different bacterial species are engaged in these chemical conversations. Some are forming alliances, sharing resources and protecting each other from antimicrobial compounds. Others are engaged in microscopic warfare, producing toxins designed to eliminate competitors while protecting themselves and their allies. The dental plaque that forms on your teeth is not just a random accumulation of bacteria, it's a carefully orchestrated community where different species occupy specific niches and perform specialized roles. Near the base of this microbial city, certain bacteria excel at adhering to tooth surfaces, forming the foundation upon which other species can build. In the middle layers, you'll find bacteria that specialize in processing different types of nutrients, breaking down complex molecules into simpler compounds that other community members can use. At the surface, other species form protective barriers and manage the community's interactions with the outside world, your saliva, your immune system, and any antimicrobial compounds you might use. This level of organization exists throughout the microbial world. In soil, bacterial and fungal communities form intricate networks that can span entire forests. These networks facilitate the exchange of nutrients, water, and information between plants, creating what some researchers describe as a wood-wide web of underground communication. Through these microbial intermediaries, a large tree can share resources with smaller plants in its vicinity, and plants under attack can send chemical warning signals to their neighbors. The fungi involved in these networks, particularly mycorrhizal fungi that form partnerships with plant roots, can connect dozens or even hundreds of individual plants. These fungal networks are incredibly resilient, capable of rerouting resources around damaged areas and maintaining connections even when individual plants die or new ones establish themselves. The fungi receive sugars and other compounds from their plant partners in exchange for minerals and water extracted from the soil, creating a sophisticated economy based on mutual benefit. Recent research has revealed that these networks can even influence plant behavior and development. Plants connected to robust mycorrhizal networks tend to be more resistant to diseases, better able to withstand drought, and more successful at competing for light and space. The networks can also influence which plant species become established in an area, effectively shaping the composition and structure of entire ecosystems over time. Similar microbial networks exist in aquatic environments, where bacteria form complex communities that can extend across vast areas of the ocean. These marine microbial communities are responsible for much of the planet's primary productivity, converting sunlight and dissolved nutrients into organic matter that supports entire food webs. They also play crucial roles in global biogeochemical cycles, processing nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, and other elements essential for life. The ocean's microbial communities are incredibly dynamic, responding to changes in temperature, nutrient availability, and seasonal patterns of mixing and stratification. During spring blooms, certain species of phytoplankton can multiply so rapidly that they color vast areas of the ocean, green or brown, visible even from space. These blooms support explosions of other marine life, from tiny zooplankton to fish, seabirds, and marine mammals. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of these microbial networks is their role in maintaining planetary stability. The activities of microorganisms help regulate Earth's climate, atmospheric composition, and ocean chemistry. They participate in feedback loops that tend to keep environmental conditions within ranges suitable for life, a phenomenon that some scientists describe as a form of planetary self-regulation. For instance, when atmospheric carbon dioxide levels rise, certain marine microorganisms increase their rates of photosynthesis and calcification, removing more carbon from the atmosphere and oceans. When temperatures increase, some bacteria produce compounds that seed cloud formation, potentially increasing cloud cover and reflecting more sunlight back to space. These are not conscious responses to environmental change, but rather the collective result of countless individual microbial activities that have been shaped by evolution to persist under changing conditions. The timescales on which these regulatory processes operate can be difficult for us to comprehend. Some microbial responses to environmental change can occur within hours or days, while others unfold over centuries or millennia. The microorganisms involved may go through thousands of generations during the time it takes for larger organisms to complete a single life cycle, allowing for rapid evolutionary adaptations that can fine-tune their responses to changing conditions. This temporal flexibility is one of the key advantages that microorganisms have in dealing with environmental uncertainty. While larger organisms like trees or mammals may require decades to adapt to new conditions through natural selection, microbial populations can evolve new capabilities within months or even weeks. This allows them to serve as biological early warning systems, often being the first to respond to environmental changes and potentially buffering the impacts on other forms of life. Your own microbial communities demonstrate this adaptive flexibility on a personal scale. The bacteria in your digestive system can adjust their populations and activities in response to changes in your diet, often within just a few days. If you start eating more fiber, bacteria that specialize in breaking down complex carbohydrates will increase in number. If you travel to a new location and are exposed to different microorganisms in food and water, your gut community may acquire new members, while others become less prominent. These changes in your microbial community can influence how you feel, how well you digest different foods, and even how your immune system responds to potential threats. The bacteria that dominate your gut when you're healthy may be quite different from those present when you're stressed, ill, or recovering from medical treatment. Understanding these relationships has led to new approaches to maintaining health that focus on supporting beneficial microbial communities rather than simply treating symptoms of disease. The concept of microbial succession, the predictable sequence of changes that occur in microbial communities over time, helps explain how these communities maintain stability while still being able to adapt to changing conditions. In your gut, for example, the microbial community that establishes itself in infancy goes through a series of developmental stages, with different species becoming dominant at different times as your diet and digestive system mature. Similar successional processes occur in environmental systems. When a new habitat becomes available, whether it's a recently formed volcanic island, a cleared forest plot, or even a freshly cleaned surface in your home, it's quickly colonized by microorganisms that arrive through various dispersal mechanisms. These pioneer species begin modifying the environment through their metabolic activities, creating conditions that may favor the establishment of other species while potentially making the environment less suitable for themselves. Over time, the microbial community develops greater diversity and complexity as new species arrive and establish themselves in the niches created by earlier colonizers. Eventually, the community may reach a relatively stable state where the major species present are those best adapted to the conditions created by the community as a whole. This mature community is typically more resilient to disturbance than the earlier successional stages, though it can still be disrupted by major environmental changes. The resilience of mature microbial communities comes from their diversity and the redundancy built into their functional capabilities. In a healthy soil ecosystem, for example, there may be dozens of different bacterial species capable of performing similar functions like nitrogen fixation or organic matter decomposition. If one species is eliminated by a disturbance, others can often compensate for its loss, maintaining the overall functioning of the community. This redundancy is particularly important in the face of environmental uncertainty. Climate change, pollution, habitat destruction, and other human impacts are creating novel environmental conditions that challenge microbial communities around the world. Communities with higher diversity and greater functional redundancy are generally better able to adapt to these changes while maintaining their essential ecological roles. The study of microbial resilience has practical implications for everything from human health to environmental management. In medicine, maintaining the diversity of gut microbiomes is increasingly recognized as important for preventing disease and supporting recovery from illness. In agriculture, managing soil microbial communities can improve crop productivity while reducing the need for chemical inputs. In environmental restoration, understanding microbial succession can help guide efforts to rebuild damaged ecosystems. As you lie there tonight, your breathing steady and your thoughts beginning to drift, consider that you are witnessing a remarkable example of biological resilience in action. The microbial communities within your body and around you are constantly adjusting to changing conditions, maintaining their essential functions while adapting to new challenges. They represent billions of years of evolutionary experience in the art of survival, cooperation, and adaptation. These microscopic allies have survived countless environmental catastrophes, from asteroid impacts to ice ages to dramatic changes in atmospheric composition. They've learned not just to endure change, but to thrive in the face of it, often emerging from disturbances stronger and more diverse than before. Their success comes not from resistance to change, but from their extraordinary capacity to embrace it, to find opportunity in adversity, and to create new forms of stability from apparent chaos. The gentle rise and fall of your chest, the quiet gurgling of your digestive system, the subtle warmth of your body, all of these are manifestations of microbial activities that have been refined over geological timescales. The oxygen you breathe was produced by organisms that learned to harness sunlight billions of years ago. The nutrients flowing through your bloodstream are being processed by bacteria whose ancestors witnessed the first formation of complex cells. The very mechanisms of genetic inheritance and protein synthesis that make your existence possible were perfected in the microbial world long before larger life forms appeared. In the soft darkness around you, this ancient drama of life continues to unfold. Bacteria are dividing, creating new generations in minutes. Fungi are extending their hyphal networks, connecting disparate parts of the ecosystem. Viruses are moving between cells, carrying genetic information that may lead to new evolutionary innovations. Archaea are quietly processing chemicals in ways that help maintain the planet's atmospheric and oceanic balance. All of this activity is happening at scales too small for you to perceive directly, yet it creates the stable foundation upon which all visible life depends. The microbial world operates with a patience and persistence that spans geological time, yet it responds to change with a speed and flexibility that puts our most advanced technologies to shame. It is simultaneously ancient and modern, conservative and innovative, stable and dynamic. As sleep begins to claim your conscious awareness, you can rest in the knowledge that you are supported by communities of life that have mastered the art of sustainable existence. These microscopic partners ask nothing more than the opportunity to continue their ancient work, and in return they offer you the gift of life itself, not just your individual existence, but participation in the grand, ongoing experiment of life on Earth. The microbial world reminds us that success in life comes not from domination or competition alone, but from cooperation, adaptation, and the ability to find one's place within larger communities and systems. In their microscopic realm, individual success is inseparable from community well-being, and community resilience depends on the health and diversity of individual members. Tonight, as you surrender to the gentle rhythms of sleep, you join the ancient dance of rest and renewal that connects all living things. Your microbial communities will continue their essential work through the dark hours, maintaining the delicate balances that sustain your life, processing the day's experiences, and preparing you for whatever tomorrow might bring. They are your most faithful companions, present from your first breath to your last, asking nothing but offering everything, invisible partners in the magnificent adventure of being alive. In the gentle quiet of your evening, as your thoughts begin to slow and settle, there's something particularly soothing about contemplating the invisible threads that connect all life on our planet. These microbial networks we've been exploring represent more than just biological processes. They embody principles of cooperation and resilience that have sustained life through every challenge Earth has faced. Consider the remarkable fact that the microbes living within you right now carry genetic memories that stretch back to the very origins of life. Some of the metabolic pathways your gut bacteria use to process your evening meal are essentially unchanged from processes that evolved billions of years ago, when Earth was a very different place. These ancient biochemical recipes have been passed down through countless generations, refined and perfected, but never fundamentally altered. This continuity across deep time is one of the most humbling aspects of the microbial world. While civilizations rise and fall, while species come and go, while continents drift and climates shift, the fundamental processes of microbial life continue unchanged. The bacteria in your digestive system are using the same basic mechanisms to break down nutrients that their ancestors used when the first complex cells were forming, when the first animals were crawling from the sea, when the first humans were learning to use tools. Yet within this ancient stability lies incredible innovation. Microbes are constantly experimenting with new ways of living, new chemical pathways, new forms of cooperation. The horizontal transfer of genetic material between different species means that useful innovations can spread rapidly through microbial communities, sometimes jumping across vast evolutionary distances. A gene that helps one species resist antibiotics might find its way into completely unrelated bacteria within a matter of hours or days. This genetic fluidity gives microbial communities a kind of collective intelligence, an ability to solve problems through distributed experimentation rather than individual effort. When faced with a new challenge, a novel toxin in the environment, a change in available nutrients, the introduction of an antimicrobial compound, the community as a whole begins testing different solutions. Most attempts fail, but the successful innovations are quickly shared and adopted by other members of the community. The speed of this process is difficult for us to comprehend, living as we do with generation times measured in years or decades. Bacteria can complete their entire life cycle in minutes, meaning that evolutionary processes that would take mammals thousands of years can unfold in microbial communities within days or weeks. This temporal acceleration allows microbes to adapt to changing conditions almost in real time, responding to environmental shifts as they occur rather than being overwhelmed by them. Your own microbiome exemplifies this adaptive capacity. The bacterial communities in your gut have been shaped not just by your genetics and current diet, but by every meal you've ever eaten, every place you've lived, every person you've been close to, even every pet you've owned. These experiences have left subtle but permanent marks on your microbial communities, creating a kind of biological autobiography written in the genes and populations of your resident microbes. This personalized microbiome is part of what makes you uniquely you. Just as no two people have identical fingerprints, no two people have identical microbial communities. Your particular combination of bacterial species, their relative abundances, and their specific genetic variants create a microscopic ecosystem that is entirely your own. This microbial fingerprint is so distinctive that forensic scientists can sometimes identify individuals based on the bacteria they leave behind on touched objects. The intimate relationship between your identity and your microbiome extends beyond mere identification. These bacterial communities influence aspects of your physiology and even your personality in ways that scientists are only beginning to understand. The neurotransmitters produced by gut bacteria can affect your mood, your stress response, your sleep patterns, and your cognitive function. Some researchers have suggested that our individual personalities may be partly shaped by the particular mix of microbes we carry with us. This isn't to suggest that we are simply puppets of our bacteria, but rather that the boundary between self and microbe is far more blurred than we typically imagine. We are not individuals harboring microbial communities. We are integrated ecosystems where human and microbial components work together so intimately that separating them becomes meaningless. Your thoughts, your emotions, your very sense of self emerge from this collaborative partnership between your human cells and your microscopic allies. The foods you crave may be influenced by the nutritional needs of your gut bacteria. Your immune responses are shaped by the constant dialogue between your immune system and your resident microbes. Even your circadian rhythms are synchronized with the daily cycles of your microbial communities, creating a kind of biological harmony that operates at multiple levels simultaneously. This integration extends to the very architecture of your body. The surfaces where you interact most intimately with the microbial world, your skin, your respiratory tract, your digestive system are not smooth barriers, but complex landscapes designed to support microbial communities. Your intestinal lining is folded and pleated to create maximum surface area for bacterial colonization. Specialized cells in your gut produce nutrients that feed beneficial bacteria while creating conditions that discourage harmful ones. Your immune system, rather than simply defending against all microbes indiscriminately, has evolved sophisticated mechanisms for distinguishing between beneficial residents and potentially harmful invaders. This microbial immune education begins in infancy and continues throughout your life, with your immune cells learning to recognize and protect the bacterial partners that contribute to your health while maintaining vigilance against genuine threats. The development of this immune tolerance represents one of the most remarkable examples of biological cooperation in nature. Your immune system, which is capable of mounting devastating attacks against foreign invaders, has learned to coexist peacefully with trillions of bacterial cells that are, genetically speaking, as foreign as any pathogen. This tolerance is not passive acceptance but active collaboration, with immune cells actually helping to maintain healthy microbial communities through the production of antimicrobial compounds that selectively target harmful species while leaving beneficial ones unharmed. This selective antimicrobial activity creates what scientists call colonization resistance, the ability of established microbial communities to prevent the establishment of potentially harmful newcomers. A healthy, diverse microbiome is one of your best defenses against infectious disease, not because it fights pathogens directly, but because it occupies the ecological niches that pathogens might otherwise exploit. When this colonization resistance is compromised by antibiotic treatment, illness, stress, or poor nutrition, opportunistic organisms can sometimes establish themselves and cause problems. This is why maintaining microbial diversity and balance has become such an important focus in modern medicine. Rather than simply treating disease after it occurs, there's growing interest in supporting the microbial communities that help prevent disease in the first place. The concept of microbial gardening is becoming increasingly relevant to human health. Just as a gardener tends their plants by providing the right nutrients, managing pests, and maintaining soil health, we can tend our internal microbial gardens through our dietary choices, lifestyle habits, and environmental exposures. Foods rich in fiber feed beneficial gut bacteria, while fermented foods introduce new microbial diversity. Regular exercise, adequate sleep, and stress management all support healthy microbial communities. This gardening metaphor extends beyond individual health to encompass our relationship with the microbial world more broadly. The choices we make as individuals and as a society affect microbial communities not just within our own bodies but throughout the environments we inhabit. The widespread use of antimicrobial products in homes and hospitals, while important for preventing infections, can also disrupt beneficial microbial communities. Agricultural practices that rely heavily on pesticides and antibiotics can alter soil and water microbiomes in ways that cascade through entire ecosystems. Understanding these connections is leading to more nuanced approaches to managing our microbial relationships. In agriculture, there's growing interest in regenerative farming practices that work with soil microbial communities rather than against them. In urban planning, green spaces are being designed not just for human recreation, but as reservoirs of microbial diversity. In architecture, buildings are being designed to support beneficial microbial communities while discouraging harmful ones. The emerging field of microbial ecology is revealing that the health of human communities is intimately connected to the health of the microbial communities in our shared environments. Cities with more green spaces tend to have residents with more diverse microbiomes. Children who grow up in environments with greater microbial diversity, farms, for example, or homes with pets, often develop stronger immune systems and lower rates of allergies and autoimmune diseases. These discoveries are reshaping our understanding of what it means to live in a healthy environment. It's not enough to simply avoid harmful exposures. We also need positive exposures to beneficial microbes. This has led to the concept of microbial rewilding, the idea that modern sanitized environments may be too clean for optimal health, depriving us of the microbial exposures that our immune systems evolved to expect. As you rest there tonight, breathing the air that carries countless microscopic travelers, your skin in contact with surfaces that host their own microbial communities, you are participating in microbial exchanges that connect you to the larger web of life. Every surface you touch, every breath you take, every bite of food you consume is an opportunity for microbial exchange, for the sharing of genetic information and metabolic capabilities that has been going on for billions of years. This constant exchange means that you are never truly separate from the microbial world around you. The bacteria on your skin are in continuous dialogue with those in your environment. The microbes you inhale with each breath may find temporary or permanent homes in your respiratory tract. The bacteria in your food become part of your gut community, while your own microbes venture out into the world through your breath, your touch, your very presence. In this sense, each of us is both a harbour and a source of microbial life, receiving and giving, sheltering and releasing, in a constant flow of microscopic immigration and emigration. This flow connects not just individuals but entire communities, ecosystems, even continents. The bacteria that live with you today may have ancestors that travelled across oceans, that survived in the guts of migrating animals, that endured harsh journeys through the atmosphere or the deep ocean. The global circulation of microbes means that you carry within you a kind of biological passport, a record of all the places your microbial partners have been, all the environments they've experienced, all the other hosts they've lived with. This microbial heritage connects you to the deepest history of life on Earth and to the furthest reaches of the planet's microbial networks. As sleep begins to quiet your conscious mind, these ancient networks continue their patient work. Bacteria are dividing in your gut, processing the last traces of your evening meal. Fungi are extending their networks through the soil outside your window, connecting plants and cycling nutrients. In the ocean, phytoplankton are preparing for tomorrow's photosynthesis, ready to convert sunlight into the oxygen you'll breathe and the organic matter that will feed countless other organisms. The microbial world operates on rhythms both faster and slower than our own, responding to changes in microseconds while maintaining stability over geological time. It encompasses scales from the molecular to the planetary, from the chemistry of individual cells to the global cycles that regulate our planet's climate and atmosphere. It is simultaneously the most ancient and the most modern form of life, carrying the genetic memories of Earth's earliest days, while continuously innovating and adapting to new challenges and opportunities. In the gentle darkness surrounding you, filled with the soft whispers of microscopic life, you can find comfort in knowing that you are supported by the most successful, most resilient, most cooperative forms of life our planet has ever produced. These invisible partners have weathered every crisis, survived every catastrophe, and adapted to every change that Earth has experienced. They offer a kind of biological wisdom that comes from billions of years of experience in the art of living. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, You do so in the embrace of this ancient wisdom, surrounded by forms of life that have mastered the delicate balance between stability and change, between individual survival and community well-being. They ask nothing from you but the opportunity to continue their essential work, and in return they offer you the gift of participation in the grand, ongoing experiment of life on Earth, a partnership so intimate and essential that it defines not just who you are, but what it means to be alive at all. The gentle rhythm of your breathing right now is part of a much larger symphony, one that includes the respiration of countless microorganisms working quietly within and around you. As you settle deeper into the soft embrace of evening, these microscopic partners are carrying out their own versions of the essential processes that sustain all life, each one a tiny miracle of biochemical precision refined over billions of years. Within the warm, humid environment of your lungs, specialized bacteria are helping to maintain the delicate balance of your respiratory system. They form thin, almost invisible films along the surfaces of your airways, creating protective barriers against harmful invaders while helping to regulate moisture and pH levels. These pulmonary residents work in concert with your immune cells, sending and receiving chemical signals that help distinguish between friend and foe in the constant stream of particles and microorganisms you inhale with each breath. The air moving in and out of your lungs carries with it a microscopic ecosystem in constant flux. Bacterial spores that may have originated in distant soil communities drift alongside fungal fragments from decomposing leaves, marine bacteria that have traveled inland on ocean breezes, and countless other microscopic travelers. Most pass through harmlessly, but some may find suitable conditions to establish temporary residence, adding their voices to the complex microbial chorus that accompanies your every breath. This respiratory microbiome changes throughout the day in response to your activities and environment. The bacteria present in your lungs when you wake in the morning may be quite different from those there when you sleep, influenced by the places you've been, the air you've breathed, and even the foods you've eaten. Like conductors of an invisible orchestra, these microbial communities help fine-tune the conditions within your respiratory system, ensuring that the gas exchange essential for your survival proceeds smoothly and efficiently. The oxygen you're breathing right now began its journey to your lungs as carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, captured by photosynthetic microorganisms that learned billions of years ago how to harness the energy of sunlight. These ancient innovators, cyanobacteria, and their descendants, developed the biochemical machinery that splits water molecules and releases oxygen as a byproduct. This process was so successful that it fundamentally transformed Earth's atmosphere, creating the oxygen-rich environment that makes complex life possible. Every breath you take connects you to this ancient legacy of microbial innovation. The oxygen molecules entering your bloodstream carry with them the signature of their microbial origins, having been liberated from water by microscopic organisms using mechanisms that have remained essentially unchanged for billions of years. In your cells, this oxygen will participate in the process of cellular respiration, where it will help extract energy from nutrients in reactions that are themselves descended from ancient microbial metabolic pathways. The carbon dioxide you exhale will begin its own journey through the global carbon cycle, potentially being absorbed by photosynthetic microbes in the ocean or on land, incorporated into their cellular structures, and eventually released again in an endless cycle of transformation and renewal. This constant circulation of elements between living organisms and the environment is orchestrated primarily by microbes, whose collective activities maintain the chemical balance that makes our planet habitable. As you lie there in the quiet darkness, your skin is engaged in its own form of breathing, not the movement of air in and out, but the constant exchange of moisture, gases, and chemical signals with the environment around you. Your skin hosts one of the most diverse and dynamic microbial ecosystems on your body, with different communities adapted to the varying conditions found on different parts of your body's surface. The bacteria living on your forehead face very different challenges from those on your hands or feet. Oil-producing areas support different communities than dry regions. Areas frequently exposed to sunlight develop different microbial populations than those usually covered by clothing. Even the pH of your skin varies from place to place, creating a patchwork of microenvironments that support their own specialized communities. These skin-dwelling microbes are not merely passive residents. They actively modify the environment around them, producing compounds that help maintain your skin's protective barrier, competing with potentially harmful organisms for space and nutrients, and even influencing the scent that is uniquely yours. The particular combination of volatile compounds produced by your skin bacteria contributes to your personal odor signature, something so distinctive that trained dogs can distinguish between individuals based on these microbial signatures. Alone. The remarkable thing about these skin communities is their stability in the face of constant disturbance. Every time you wash your hands, shower, or even just touch a surface, you're disrupting these microbial ecosystems. Yet they recover quickly, with the surviving bacteria rapidly recolonizing the affected areas and restoring the community structure. This resilience comes from the deep partnerships these microbes have formed with your skin cells over millions of years of coevolution. Your skin actually provides specialized habitats for its microbial residents. Hair follicles create protected microenvironments where bacteria can establish stable communities away from the harsh conditions on the skin's surface. Sebaceous glands produce oils that serve as food sources for certain bacterial species, while creating conditions that discourage others. Even the slightly acidic pH of healthy skin helps maintain the balance of microbial communities, favoring beneficial residents while inhibiting potentially problematic newcomers. The health of these skin microbiomes influences more than just your skin's appearance and comfort. These bacterial communities are in constant communication with your immune system, helping to train and calibrate your body's responses to microbial encounters. Children who grow up in environments with greater microbial diversity often develop more robust and better regulated immune systems, partly because their skin microbiomes provide ongoing education for their developing immune cells. This immune education is a delicate process that unfolds over years. Your skin bacteria present themselves to immune cells in controlled ways, allowing your immune system to learn their signatures and classify them as friendly residents rather than threats. This training helps prevent the overactive immune responses that characterize allergic reactions and autoimmune diseases, while still maintaining the ability to respond appropriately to genuine threats. The concept of microbial education extends beyond your skin to encompass your entire body. From birth onward, your immune system is constantly learning from its interactions with microbial communities, developing what scientists call immunological memory. This memory allows your immune system to respond more quickly and effectively to threats it has encountered before, while also helping it maintain tolerance for beneficial microbes. This educational process is particularly important during infancy and early childhood, when the immune system is most plastic and responsive to microbial influences. The microbes that colonize your body during these early years help establish the baseline patterns of immune function that will influence your health throughout your lifetime. This is one reason why early antibiotic exposure or birth by caesarean section, both of which can disrupt normal microbial colonization, are associated with increased risks of allergies and autoimmune diseases later in life. The timing and sequence of microbial colonization during early development follows predictable patterns that have been refined over millions of years of mammalian evolution. The first microbes to establish residence in an infant's gut are typically species that are well adapted to the conditions found in breast milk, particularly bacteria that can efficiently process the complex sugars that make up a large portion of human milk's carbohydrate content. These early colonizers don't just feed themselves, they also modify the gut environment in ways that prepare it for the arrival of other beneficial species. They produce acids that lower the pH of the intestinal tract, create an environment that favors certain types of bacteria while discouraging others, and begin producing the metabolites that will support the development of the intestinal lining and immune system. As the infant's diet diversifies to include solid foods, the gut microbiome undergoes a corresponding diversification, with new species arriving to help process the more complex nutrients found in plant and animal foods. This transition is gradual and carefully orchestrated, with each developmental stage building upon the foundations established by earlier colonizers. The adult microbiome that eventually emerges from this developmental process is remarkably stable, yet still capable of adaptation and change. Major shifts in diet, health status, or medication use can alter the composition of these communities, but they typically return to something resembling their original state once normal conditions are restored. This stability within flexibility is one of the hallmarks of healthy microbial ecosystems, whether they exist within our bodies or in natural environments. The principles that govern microbial community development in humans apply equally to the colonization of new environments in nature. When a volcanic island emerges from the ocean, it begins as a sterile landscape devoid of life. But within days or weeks, microbes begin arriving on wind currents, in seawater, and on the bodies of visiting animals. These pioneer species face the challenge of establishing themselves in an environment that lacks the complex chemical and biological infrastructure that supports life in more mature ecosystems. The first successful colonizers are typically generalists, microbes capable of surviving in harsh conditions and utilizing whatever resources are available. As these pioneers establish themselves and begin modifying their environment through their metabolic activities, they create opportunities for more specialized species to arrive and thrive. Over time, the microbial community becomes more diverse and complex, eventually supporting the establishment of larger organisms like plants and animals. This process of ecological succession, driven primarily by microbial activities, can transform a barren landscape into a thriving ecosystem within decades or centuries, a remarkably short time from a geological perspective. The soil that forms through the weathering of rock by microbial acids and enzymes provides the foundation for plant growth. The nitrogen fixed by bacterial symbionts makes this essential nutrient available to plants that couldn't otherwise survive in nutrient-poor volcanic soils. Similar successional processes occur in aquatic environments, where microbial communities form the foundation of food webs that eventually support fish, marine mammals, and seabirds. In both terrestrial and aquatic systems, the diversity and stability of microbial communities largely determine the resilience and productivity of the entire ecosystem. The study of these natural colonization processes has provided insights into how we might restore damaged ecosystems or establish new ones. Reintroducing appropriate microbial communities can accelerate the recovery of disturbed habitats, while understanding microbial succession can help predict how ecosystems will respond to environmental changes. Climate change is providing unprecedented opportunities to observe how microbial communities respond to rapidly changing conditions. As temperatures rise and precipitation patterns shift, microbes are often among the first organisms to respond, altering their distributions, activities, and interactions in ways that can cascade through entire ecosystems. In Arctic regions, warming temperatures are causing permafrost to thaw, releasing microbial communities that have been frozen for thousands of years. As these ancient microbes become active again, they begin decomposing the organic matter that has been preserved in the frozen soil, releasing carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere and potentially accelerating warming trends. Ocean microbes are responding to changing temperature and chemistry by altering their distributions and activities. Some species are expanding their ranges into previously unsuitable waters, while others are being pushed toward extinction as their preferred habitats disappear. These changes in microbial communities are affecting ocean productivity, nutrient cycling, and the ability of marine ecosystems to absorb atmospheric carbon dioxide. Yet the same adaptability that allows microbes to respond rapidly to environmental change also makes them potential allies in addressing climate challenges. Researchers are investigating how microbial communities might be harnessed to capture and store carbon, break down pollutants, or produce renewable fuels and other valuable compounds. The field of applied microbiology is expanding rapidly as scientists learn to work with microbial communities rather than against them. In agriculture, microbial inoculants are being developed to improve crop yields while reducing the need for chemical fertilizers and pesticides. In environmental remediation, engineered microbial communities are being used to clean up oil spills, treat contaminated water, and break down plastic waste. In medicine, researchers are exploring how manipulating microbial communities might prevent or treat diseases. Probiotics' beneficial microbes taken as supplements represent just the beginning of this therapeutic approach. Scientists are developing more sophisticated interventions, including engineered microbes designed to produce specific therapeutic compounds within the body, and personalized treatments based on individual microbiome profiles. The potential applications seem almost limitless, but they all depend on understanding the complex interactions within microbial communities and between these communities and their environments. This understanding is advancing rapidly, aided by new technologies that allow researchers to study microbes in their natural settings rather than just in laboratory cultures. DNA sequencing technologies have revolutionized microbial ecology by allowing scientists to identify and study microbes that cannot be grown in laboratory conditions. These culture-independent methods have revealed that the vast majority of microbial species have never been isolated or studied in detail, suggesting that we've only scratched the surface of microbial diversity. Each new study seems to reveal additional layers of complexity in microbial communities. Researchers are discovering intricate networks of metabolic cooperation between different species, sophisticated chemical communication systems, and elegant solutions to survival challenges that could inspire new technologies. The more we learn about the microbial world, the more we realize how much our own existence depends on these invisible partners. They are not just passengers along for the ride. They are active participants in maintaining the conditions that make our lives possible. From the oxygen we breathe to the nutrients we absorb to the chemical signals that regulate our physiology, microbes are intimately involved in every aspect of our biological existence. As you rest there tonight, surrounded by this invisible universe of microbial activity, you might find comfort in knowing that you are supported by communities of organisms that have mastered the art of cooperation and resilience. These microscopic allies have weathered every crisis that Earth has faced, and they continue to adapt and evolve in response to new challenges. Their success comes not from dominating their environment, but from finding ways to work within it, to cooperate with other organisms, and to maintain the delicate balances that sustain life. They offer a model of sustainable existence that we are only beginning to understand and appreciate. In the quiet moments before sleep takes hold, as your breathing slows and your thoughts settle, you become part of the ancient rhythm that connects all living things. Your microbial partners continue their essential work in the darkness, maintaining the invisible infrastructure that makes your existence possible, asking nothing in return but the opportunity to share in the remarkable adventure of life on this extraordinary planet we call home. The gentle pulse of microbial life surrounds you like a soft lullaby, a reminder that even in the deepest quiet, even in the darkest night, life continues in countless forms, each one contributing to the grand symphony of existence that has been playing for billions of years and will continue long after we're gone. And perhaps that's the most beautiful thing of all, knowing that you are part of something so much larger than yourself, so ancient and enduring, so quietly magnificent in its endless creativity and resilience. And so, as we drift toward the end of our gentle journey through the microbial universe, perhaps you're beginning to feel that familiar pull of sleep, the soft weight settling over your eyelids, the gradual slowing of your thoughts, the peaceful surrender to rest. This is as it should be, for you are never truly alone in this quiet transition from wakefulness to dreams. Even now, as your conscious mind begins to fade, the microscopic world around you continues its ancient work with the same patient dedication it has shown for billions of years. The bacteria in your gut are processing the last traces of your evening meal, converting complex molecules into the simple compounds your body needs for repair and renewal. The microbes on your skin are maintaining their protective communities, standing guard against potential invaders, while contributing to the subtle chemical symphony that makes you uniquely you. In the air around you, countless microscopic travelers continue their journeys, spores that may have begun their voyage in distant forests, bacteria that have crossed oceans on wind currents, tiny fragments of life that connect your quiet bedroom to ecosystems around the globe. They ask nothing of you, these invisible companions, yet they offer everything: the very possibility of your existence, the breath in your lungs, the health of your body, the intricate chemical processes that allow you to dream. The soil beneath your home teems with microbial cities more complex than any human metropolis, their residents working tirelessly to cycle nutrients, support plant life, and maintain the delicate balances that keep terrestrial ecosystems functioning. In nearby streams and rivers, aquatic microbes are beginning their preparations for tomorrow's photosynthesis, ready to capture sunlight and convert it into the oxygen and organic matter that sustain countless other forms of life. This is the quiet miracle that surrounds us always, the invisible foundation upon which all visible life depends. We are not separate observers of the microbial world, we are intimate participants in it, our every breath and heartbeat intertwined with the activities of our microscopic partners. The boundary between self and microbe dissolves when examined closely, revealing a truth both humbling and comforting. We are walking ecosystems, collaborative communities of life forms that have learned to work together in the most beautiful partnership evolution has ever created. Tonight, as sleep claims your thoughts and your body settles into its restorative rhythms, know that you are cradled not just by blankets and pillows, but by billions of years of biological wisdom. The microbes within you and around you carry the accumulated knowledge of every environmental challenge life has faced, every solution it has discovered, every innovation it has embraced. They are the keepers of the deepest secrets of existence, and they share those secrets freely with every breath you take. So rest well, dear listener, in the gentle embrace of the microbial universe. Dream of invisible gardens where cooperation blooms eternal, of microscopic cities where different species work in harmony, of ancient partnerships that have weathered every storm and emerged stronger. And remember, when you wake tomorrow, that you carry within you a piece of the most successful, most resilient, most generous forms of life our planet has ever known. The sleepy scientist bids you good night, surrounded by the soft whispers of 1,000,000,000,000 tiny allies, each one a reminder that in the vast cosmos, no one is ever truly alone. Sweet dreams, and may your rest be as peaceful as the ancient rhythms that sustain all life on Earth.